So the live service part of the gaming industry is meant to be where players just log on to the game and they play the game as long as possible. And the way I understand live service games is more of a healthier player base you have, and the more that they're putting money into the game, and the more they're active they are, the more that people want to kick around and stay around playing this game. Now, I will say this right out of the gate. Games like Fortnite and games like PUBG, they're not going to be going anywhere anytime soon. Games like Call of Duty, which are live services now, they're not going to be going anywhere anytime soon, especially with the new Warzone zone up and running. They're not going to go anywhere anytime soon because those games have like a popular and a healthy player retention rate where people just keep coming back to the game because of what they like. Whether they're fanboys, whether they're dedicated players, whether they're just casual, whatever. Those are popular games that people enjoy, and there are some games out there that people just don't really enjoy that much. Now, I do have some of the links to some of these articles in the description. I don't want to take up too much time, but there is a couple of live service games that are actually going to be shutting down this year, and it was announced, I believe, at the start or near the end of January, where the developers were confirming these games are going to be shutting down. Now, I'm only going to read you a little bit of these articles. I am going to be leaving a link in the description, so if you want to read the full thing, you can go check them out yourselves. So, I am going to read you a little bit of the articles, and I'm going to give you my thoughts and opinions on each and every one of them as we go along. And the first one is going to be Crossfire X and Knockout City, which has been announced, I believe, last year, and already things are not looking as good. So, Crossfire X and Knockout City have joined the list of service games shutting down soon. It's a rough time for fans of several live service games, which are titles designed to be continuously updated for a long time. A bunch are shutting down near the future, and Crossfire X and Knockout City are among the list. Crossfire is an Xbox console version of the massive popular tactical shooter. After some delays, it arrived less than a year, but it wasn't a hit with critics or, more crucially, the public. Like, the developers Smilegate has stopped selling the game. The multiplayer component is free to play, but the Remedy developed single player campaign is not, and is offering refunds for purchases made in the last 2 weeks. It will shut down Crossfire servers on May 18th. So you're probably wondering, well, Nightwing, what about Knockout City? I'm gonna get to that in a second, but I do want to say, for a game that's like based off a Call of Duty live service, like a first-person shooter, which was released, I believe, last year, and it's already shutting down in May 18th, which is kind of like the middle of the year, and if you made a game that's like last year and it's going to be shutting down next year, even though it's only been out realistically for like a few months, that's not a very good sign. And here's the thing, if you're going to try to release a live service game, you have to make it a game that people at least like, at least something that will keep people's attention going for at least a good year or two. But unfortunately, Crossfire X, which tried to make it like a first person shooter in a certain way nobody really liked, nobody really seemed interested. So this game kind of already died off. So unfortunately for Crossfire, that game is already dead on arrival. And it's shutting down next year, so that's a shame. But let's continue, shall we? So, Knockout City is a fun dodgeball brawler game. The game went free to play last year when the developers Velen Studios, I think is how you say it, parted ways with EA's to self-publish it. Alas, Knockout City is shutting down too. It's in its ninth season will be the final one, and the services will close on June 6th. On a positive note, Velen will roll out an option for PC players to run the game on private servers. So, here's another uh, thing. Knockout City is a dodgeball style battle royal kind of like brawler game, at least from what I understand. And if you obviously hit your opponent with the ball, you're gonna get knocked out. But unfortunately, not a lot of people really seem to like that idea either. So the game just kind of just fell off. But the good thing is, the developers of Knockout City are at least going to give players an option, because there are some people that actually prefer Knockout City, and there are some people that actually like this game, and they're going to give their community at least the option to keep the servers up on their own time. And don't get me wrong, I think that's a good idea, but at the end of the day, how many people are going to be constantly logging into live service games or a certain server that, let's just say, someone in their bedroom is hosting, for example, and you get like a few hundred people logging in? Like, you gotta remember, even if you're gonna leave it up to your player base to run the servers, you gotta at least give them the option to also find some ways to innovate with these mini games, or with these games. Like, give them mini games, like give them a mode where people run super fast, or there's giant dodgeballs that explode, or something like that, to give people a little bit more of an option here. But from what I'm understanding, it doesn't seem like we're gonna get any mini games for Knockout City. But again, at least the servers are going to be kept up by the community, which is optional if they so choose, which is awesome. But also, the Knockout City is unfortunately going to be shutting down in the middle of the year as well, and that's not really a good sign. And if you think about it, it's just another live service game that no one really seems to care about that much. But then again, and some people do like playing this game, and they are going to keep the servers up, so that's cool. But I'm going to continue on with Apex Legends Mobile. Yeah, Apex Legends Mobile is also apparently going to be shutting down this year as well. And to be quite frankly honest, if you think about it, who really plays Apex Legends on their mobile devices? If you think about it, more people would rather play it on PC or consoles rather than on their phones. But anyway, here we go. EA said on Tuesday that Apex Legends Mobile launched in May 2022. It will go offline May 1st of 2023, despite the abundant signs of multiplayer shooter games' apparent success, and EA's zeal to explain all of its top series onto phones, whether it be other popular games like Call of Duty Mobile, for example. The underlying reasons don't appear to involve the game's quality or a major struggle to attract a large number of players. Here's Andrew Wilson instead indicated into a call to investors that Apex Legends Mobile's biggest problem was that it didn't feel deeply connected to the Border franchise. Players of a mobile version of a big series want to either compete against their PC console counterparts, or console counterparts like PlayStation and Xbox, or at least feel like progressing in one version of the game benefits them in the other. Apex Legends Mobile didn't do that. The game was developed entirely by Tencent. Lightspeed and Quantum ran its own seasons, and eventually had a slightly different roster compared to the console PC versions of Apex Legends. Battlefield Mobile was set to operate in the same way. So, Battlefield Mobile and or Apex Legends Mobile, God, I almost messed that up. They also are going to be shutting down their servers as well. Well, not Battlefield Mobile. That was actually canceled from development because they didn't think that would go through. But however, Apex Legends Mobile, it doesn't sound like it did its job properly. It didn't sound like it did its job to maintain the players with their player retention. It didn't feel like a game like a lot of people enjoyed. It didn't feel Apex Legends felt a little off on the mobile devices. It didn't feel proper but in reality playing on mobile devices are much harder than playing on a console or a PC, for example. But honestly, why would people even play on their phones just to play Apex Legends? I mean, if you want to play Apex Legends, why don't you install it for free on your PC or your console? I mean, it is a free to play game at the end of the day. Now, Fortnite is, I believe, is also brought back to mobile devices. I believe I could be wrong about that, but at least Fortnite actually has a positive player retention rate where you can at least try to customize the controls to your liking. But unfortunately, for Apex Legends, it just seems to have fallen victim to shutting down. But last but not least, I am going to continue on to the last game I want to talk about, and that is going to be Marvel's Avengers. After September 30th, 2023, Marvel's Avengers will no longer be available for purchase digitally. The game will continue to be playable for anyone with an existing physical copy or digital copy of the game after that date. So it seems like even that mediocre game, Marvel's Avengers is even going to be shutting down because the game is just not that good. Even when it released, it was dead on arrival. Nobody really played that travesty because it was a live service game of a popular franchise that nobody really wanted, and it just kind of was just sitting there and it was just, hey, play this game because we want this to be a game that people enjoy. But in reality, people quickly caught on that this was a quick money grab that nobody really liked. After 2.5 years, and introducing the 12 of the Earth's mightiest heroes following update 2.8 on March 33rd, 2023 will no longer add new content features to Marvel's Avengers. All support for the game will end on September 20th, 2023. Even after the official support case on September 30th, 2023, both single and multiplayer games will continue to be available. So, unfortunately, it just seems like this game is just going to be shutting down because there's like not enough player retention and not a lot of people seem to just really be enjoying this game. And the sad part is nobody really seems to care about this game if you really think about it. Like even from the jump, this game was kind of doomed from the start because nobody wanted a live service game of Marvel's Avengers. Nobody wanted it. It just was a dying game that was just rotting away in its grave, and Square Enix is finally going to pull the trigger and they're just going to kill off this game. So, to wrap this whole video up, live service games are kind of in trouble right now, and not a lot of people really seem to be enjoying them. Not a lot of people really seem to be enjoying these games like they used to. And the funny part is, the gaming industry even try to make it like all live service games are going to be the future going forward. All live service games are going to be a live service. And here we are now in 2023 where like already a good handful of these games are already getting shut down at some point later this year. So it's kind of ironic and funny because a lot of people they just don't have time to sit down and play video games these days, especially with what's going on in the world and especially with what people have to be doing now. Like there's a lot of other things people need to do. So don't get me wrong, there are some games that do keep people's attention retention, and they maintain those players' retention. But at the end of the day, like I said earlier, how is that going to keep people interested? I mean, for example, like Fortnite, they've been doing a good job of maintaining their player retention with content that people seem to enjoy. And we got games like Call of Duty. They seem to be doing a good job maintaining their players' retention, and people actually enjoy it. But on the other side, we got games like Marvel's Avengers that nobody wanted, and the game just was sitting there rotting in its grave, and now the servers are finally going to be shutting down. And then we got other games on here too, like Apex Legends Mobile, which not a lot of people really seem to enjoy. They would rather play the PC and the console versions instead of the mobile version. I mean, seriously, why would you play Apex Legends on your phone? And then we got other games like Knockout City that is also being shut down as well, because not a lot of people seem to enjoy that game as much. Even though a small handful like it, they can have the option to host the servers themselves. So the sad part is, live service games, they're not really going to be as fun as they used to be. And this might sound embarrassing, but a game called Club Penguin back in the early 2000s, that was actually a fun little game to log into because that actually had little fun events that people liked, and it had little events that kept people playing. But unfortunately, as time went on, the game unfortunately shut down as well. So, the good news, though, I will say, is Nintendo at least has an idea of what video games should be. At least they have an idea of how to make good video games. You know, with like Super Mario Odyssey or Metroid Dread or games like, let's just say, for example, oh, I don't know, um, Mario Tennis, for example. Something that people can sit down and play together. Because at least Nintendo somewhat has an idea of what good games should be. Especially with the recent release, Metroid Prime Remastered, that game is still selling like hotcakes. I'm surprised I got my hands on a copy of that game. A lot of people would rather play these kind of games single player or couch co-op with their friends or their family rather than play a live service single player game. And this is the sad truth. I don't know if I said this before, I but I'm going to say it anyway. All live service games will eventually come to an end. And I'm trying not to get myself too attached to a live service game because a lot of people will be heartbroken and disappointed that a live service game that they love, like Fortnite or Apex Legends or Call of Duty, for example, maybe Destiny, has been sh- confirmed to shut down, for example. But thank God that they're not, because those games actually keep people's attention. But personally, I try not to get too attached to live service games because I know all live service games will eventually come to an end. So that's why I try not to get too attached to a live service game. Unless, it's something like Apex or Call of Duty. Then or maybe Fortnite. Then maybe I'll play those games because they actually offer something there. So, right now, oh, it seems like live service games are just kind of in trouble. And already it just seems like all it does to ruin a studio's name or a game's name, all it does is it takes one bad release or one bad update to ruin a video game's name and to ruin a studio's name. And at this point, I think a lot of people are just fed up with these live service games and broken games at release. So, unfortunately, this is the direction that I believe we're going forward in. But it looks like people are starting to finally realize that live service games are not the way of the future. And they want something better than that. They want something that they can sit down and play with their friends or family. And they want something thing like a single player game like Elden Ring where they can just sit down and play that game. We don't need any more live services to actually make a good video game. I'm just saying. I'm playing through Metroid Prime Remastered on a harder difficulty, I believe, New Game Plus, at least what I call it. So, I don't need a live service to keep me interested. Like I said, Metroid Prime Remastered is a good example. Just saying. So, with that being said, thank you guys all for listening. Let me know what you all think down below. Are you interested in live service games like some people? Are you not that interested in live service games? Are you interested in only playing them once in a while like I am? Let me know in the comments down below. And until next time, you guys, I'm talking about live service games struggling, and I'll see you all later.